Welcome back to Equal Time Soccer. We're live. I am Mark Pravratsky. I'm happy to be joined by Anna Recarte-Pacheco, who is a Shattuck St. Mary's alum and a current player for the Texas-Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros. I hope I said that decently. Welcome, Anna. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right. I mean, I had to say the full name just because it's a mouthful. It's great, and we'll get into it later. But actually, Texas Rio Grande Valley was created from two other long names, colleges in Texas. But Anna, I want to ask you about the start of the season. Obviously, you're playing, like I said, at Rio Grande Valley. Started off with some huge opponents, honestly, playing
Yeah.
some in-state rivals, TCU and Texas. Talk about those challenges, because it's either, teams tend to either maybe have a bit of a tune-up or they have really big challenges early in the non-conference in terms of what it can benefit. So you faced really big challenges with those. Talk about facing the big teams early this year.
Yeah, we had like a pretty tough non-conference schedule, and I think that's good because it'll make us ready for conference. But also, we played TCU in Texas, and we played them at 1 p.m. in the Texas heat. So it doesn't. It's not only tough because it's a tough opponent, but you're also battling the heat, and it's good for fitness. So I think that we'll be definitely more prepared than other teams who had like a lighter non-conference schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And we hung in pretty well, especially against Kansas State, where we only lost
Mm-hmm.
1-0.
Mm-hmm.
And then against Texas, we were actually only losing 0-2 until the last 8 minutes.
Uh-huh. Oh,
So,
that's
mhm.
brutal. Yeah, like you said, I mean, yeah, the positive, it's spoken like, a veteran on the team to try to take the positives out of it, because it's all you can do, right? Is to say, yeah,
Mhm.
like our games later, hopefully won't be this difficult. So when we can meet the challenge next time.
Yeah.
The other games you've had already this year, and it seems like it must happen every year, is the South Texas Showdown. It's kind of personal for you, obviously, because
Yeah.
you used to play for Corpus Christi, A&M Corpus Christi. Now you
Mhm.
play for Rio Grande Valley, and it seems like they have a 2-game show off every year. So just talk about experiencing that as the player with, just
Yeah.
some cast in it.
It's called like the South Texas Showdown since we're the two farthest teams in down south and that
Mm-hmm.
play Division 1 soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when I was at Shattuck, I had an offer from Rio Grande and from Corpus Christi. So
Mm-hmm.
when I went on my visit, I went to Corpus first and then I drove to Rio Grande.
Uh-huh.
And I decided to go to Corpus, but that was the wrong choice.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I have friends on the team
Mm-hmm.
and they have some it's always good competing against them. It's definitely very aggressive. Like there's a lot
Uh-huh.
of tension,
Uh-huh.
and when I was on the Corpus side, I was like, "Oh, the Vaqueros, like they play so aggressive, blah, blah, blah." And now that I'm on the UTRGV side, when I play against Corpus, I'm like, "Geez, those girls are mean."
Uh-huh.
I can't believe I was on that team.
An exercise in sports psychology. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's fun playing against them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you are close, you're in different conferences, right? But you
Mhm.
are really close together. I mean, so it must be a thing where, I mean, like in the non-conference, or even if it was a thing of playing your warm-up games, I'm sure it's two programs that see each other a lot. So yeah, it is. Um, I can understand that. How did you end up? So I mean, like you said, you started at Corpus Christi,
Mhm.
and then you transferred in the midst of, I guess COVID was occurring kind of in the midst of that as well. So I mean, it made it, somewhat awkward of a time to do it. So how did you end up then? I mean, you'd already visited Rio Grande, I guess, and
Yeah.
it's becoming a really very commonplace with the new transfer rules, which I think are good, for player empowerment, that
Mhm.
people can actually find a situation that works for them. So I am curious, how did you end up at Rio Grande Valley, and how did you end up making the decision? Like, you just knew already from your visits prior.
Yeah. Even when I, like, committed to Corpus, I would watch the Rio Grande games, I was like, "Geez, I shoulda gone there."
Uh-huh.
But I didn't have the best visit when I came here as
Mm-hmm.
in high school, So that's what kind of drew me away from the Valley.
Right.
But when I was in at Corpus and I entered the portal, actually one of my shadow coaches, Coach Sue, after I had already committed to Corpus, joined the UTRGV staff.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I entered the portal, I just wanted to go. I wanted to reach out to the schools that I had already talked to before I committed,
Mm-hmm.
and then I also knew that at Rio Grande I would like the coach, and I would really like Coach Sue.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I got an offer from them, I committed, and it was really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then Coach Sue, my coach as a Shattuck, left and went back to Shattuck, so I didn't even get to get coached by her here, but she impacted my decision also, and it was good. It was a really good decision. I'm really happy with it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, also part of the game, that coaching carousel, especially of assistants, that's a quick
Mhm.
moving world to try and find opportunities for them too. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a bummer you didn't get to connect with her, but happy ending in the sense that you found a fit that was good for you. What is it about Rio Grande Valley that you mentioned the coaches and a little
Mhm.
bit of the playing style, but what is it about playing there that that makes the team special, or to you, or at least what
Yeah.
makes you connect with it and
Some
happy
of yeah. Some of the things that make it special is that we have a lot of international players,
there? Hmm.
and I get to meet people from, like, all over. There's people from Europe, Australia, New Zealand,
Hmm.
and just connecting with them and seeing all the different cultures, I think, is amazing. And also they love soccer just like I love soccer so much. They have, like, the same passion for soccer, and I love my teammates as well. I think it's
Hmm.
really nice here.
Hmm.
Everybody's excited for practice.
Hmm.
I also didn't like the cold, so that's why I wanted
Yeah.
to stay in the South,
Yeah. Yeah.
even though now, I don't know, that's really hot. It's a lot hotter than I was expecting.
Yeah, I bet. Well, it's getting hotter all the time, so even you
Mhm.
couldn't have predicted. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, clearly, if you were picking between Corpus Christi and Rio Grande Valley, you had your idea
Yeah.
about kind of where to go, or was it just the fact that those were the coaches who had connected interest to you, or what was it about that brought you to South Texas specifically in
Well,
looking where you want to go?
yeah, it was that I knew Coach Sue, and I had already visited here,
Hmm.
and also when I was making my decision, felt I was sad to leave my friends from Corpus, so
Hmm.
I wanted to be somewhere close where if I wanted to, I could still
Uh-huh.
see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like this conference better, the WAC.
Yeah, just higher level of competition, or the travel being better? What is it about it?
Yeah, it's higher level of competition, and I like the playing style of the conference. I feel like most teams try to play. It's less of an athletic game where
Right,
it's pick and run.
right. Yeah. No, I mean, you notice that, I mean, in different conferences, and then different patches too, where it's even a team, if you have good intentions, I mean, if all the other teams you play just want to muck it up and kind of kick and boot,
Mhm.
they can do that. So yeah, I totally understand that. What was it about, what do you remember about actually having to make your choice in high school, going to originally Corpus Christi? I mean, part of the reason people end up transferring as well is because you make these choices when you're so young, right? Like, you're making it. I
Yeah,
didn't have to commit to my college in sophomore year. I did it when I was a senior. So
yeah,
talk about making that decision and how that early recruiting started, and you having to formulate that.
yeah. Um, well, I always wanted to play Division 1, and when I was at Shattuck, it was really good when the development academy was there
Mm-hmm.
because I got exposed to college coaches versus when I played club at, like, Woodbury Soccer Club. The only place college that had shown interest to me was, like, University of North Dakota,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. I like them, but it was in the Midwest and it was really cold.
Mm-hmm.
So the development academy allowed me to get exposure from coaches not just in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was making my decision, I was pretty nervous. I had narrowed it down to, like, three schools that I really
Mm-hmm.
liked, and it came down to, like, one of the schools gave me time. They said that I only had, like, till the end of the month to make my
Mm-hmm.
decision,
Mm-hmm.
So when I had that time crunch, it really pushed me to think of it. And I was like, okay, if I don't commit here, then I
Mm-hmm.
lose this offer.
Right. During that time, did you have? I mean, Shattuck is. Well, I'll talk a little more about Shattuck later too. I mean, but obviously it's a high level team. I'm guessing you
Mhm.
had maybe other players going through it. So, who did you lean on in terms of
Yeah.
because family can be very helpful, but maybe they haven't actually been in the position like high level athletics like that. So I'm just
Mhm.
curious how you were, who you leaned on to make that decision.
I was actually the first one on my Shattuck team to commit Division One,
Uh huh.
but there was because I'm pretty young for my grade,
Mm-hmm.
so there was girls on the older team who were committing places like um I don't know, Nina LaFleur. She committed to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I always liked watching her play, and I knew that she was so good and she had so many offers. So I kind of looked up to her as a player,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and my teammates were going through the same thing, so it was good to have them always around me because we lived together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it's the thing we talk about a lot because it's the thing most people just don't deal with of having to make life choices like that, a few years ahead and when you're a teenager. So interesting to hear. Who was the third? Would you say who was the third school? Was it Corpus Christi, Rio Grande Valley, and who was the other? It
It
must have
was
been warm
It was
weather.
South Dakota State.
South Dakota State. Well, so yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, so maybe the weather influenced it because they're a great team too. I mean, they're a good team.
Yeah, they
Uh,
are, and I
It's
really like the coaches there as well. Really.
Yeah. Well, it's cold and it's very windy, but I mean, you see they're in the tournament last year. What could have been? Um, I'll take a break here to just read a message from our sponsor, Pence Homes. So this show is brought to you by Pence Homes. Whether you're buying or selling or looking to do some projects in your current home, Nate and Lydia can help you find what you need. Need financing for a basement remodel, looking to add a second bath or even a workspace now that you're working from home? Pence Homes and their preferred lender, Angie Shearer, with Luminate Financing, can help find the right financing tool for you. Go to pencehomes.com to learn more or find them on social media at Pence Homes. Thank you, Pence Homes. So I'm curious. Shattuck St. Mary's, it's somewhat of a unique school in Minnesota. I mean, there's other private schools, other schools that have, like students who live there, but it's like it's kind of rural. And I'm curious, just in general, was it? Did you actually live at Shattuck when you went there? Did you travel because it's a long ways to Woodbury? So I'm assuming maybe it was actually you're living there in dorms.
Yeah, I lived there. I it was definitely unique, but I think going to Shattuck was probably the best decision I made. Um, it taught me to actually like school.
Okay.
Before, yeah, before I was at Woodbury High School, and all I wanted to do was do well in school for the sole purpose of soccer, just so that
Sure.
I could get recruited more and better. But then
Right.
when I got to Shattuck, the classes were smaller, and
Mhm.
my classmates all had characteristics like they were ambitious, they wanted to study, and
Mhm.
that kind of made me want to learn and be
Mhm.
a better student as well. And it taught me time managing because it was kind of like I was at a college since
Sure.
everything was online for the purpose that the student athletes would travel and you could still do your work online.
Mhm.
So it really prepared me for college as well as for like the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Take that clip. Shattuck St. Mary's. That was a great clip up for an alumni message. They're going to try and like raise money off of that, Anna. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you'd expect going to a school like that. I wonder how was it? I mean, the level of soccer is high as well in terms of being, a good
Mhm.
academic school. I mean, back then it was Development Academy. Now ECNL is what most of the clubs are playing in. So talk
Mhm.
about that. I mean, you were obviously Woodbury, even playing at Woodbury High School, is still a high level of soccer. A lot of
Mhm.
people playing in college, but just talk about that level of play and how it was to shift to also it's a lot of travel. Like you said, it's kind of like being a college athlete.
Mhm. Yeah. So the it was our first year in the development academy, and
Uh-huh.
before that, Shattuck wasn't ECNL or anything. So when we entered in the DA, it was kind of like a shock. Our first game, we actually did pretty well, but then like some teams, like we would play against Michigan Hawks, and it was a lot of losing.
Uh-huh.
but the level was really high, and it was also like the rules where you only got 3 subs, and if you came out, you
Uh-huh.
couldn't come back in, so it was intense.
Yeah. Competitive.
Mhm,
Mm-hmm.
and it I also think, like, the level prepared me for college
Mm-hmm.
versus just playing high school soccer
Mm-hmm.
or club, and I wish I also could have done ECNL when I was younger, but
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was cheaper to play in the development academy than
Yeah.
it was for ECNL,
Mm-hmm.
since the scholarship at Shattuck goes, like, based on your parents' income.
Mm-hmm.
So, I it was the only place in Minnesota that I had access to one of the top leagues, since there's only one ECNL team that's MTA.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, and it's a tough, it was, it can be tough to find that opportunity because there is a ton, there's no shortage of talent in Minnesota. So, I mean, that
Mhm,
you were one who got to go to an elite program like Shattuck. I mean, clearly they saw the potential and, shows they're probably right because you're still out here showing out. So, I wanted to ask you, so, and also just what was the bigger jump? I wonder if you think of it that way in terms of maybe playing high school and club to jumping to playing with Shattuck and then going from Shattuck to playing D1, which
mhm.
was a bigger shock. I mean, maybe it was just going D1, but I'm curious.
I think the biggest shock for me was, going from DA, Shattuck to college,
Yeah.
because college, like, first half, you if you sub out, you can't come back in, but second half, you can sub in as much as you want, and
Mhm.
the pace is just so high.
Yeah.
It it's like you're always running. And then Shattuck, I mean, if there was only 3 subs and the level was really high and it was really technical, I would almost say that the level of development academy was more technical than college level for
Yeah.
me, but
At least
it
where
was
you were. Yeah. When
yeah,
you, yeah.
it wasn't the same
Right.
pace.
Right.
You could slow down the game sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the subbing makes a big difference. Yeah, you can see, I mean, and depending on the college team, they kind of platoon. I mean, it's like, so
Mhm.
yeah, it can be very intense, especially like we said, if the team's just trying to just bunker in the game for you or get physical.
Mhm.
I want to ask a little bit too. We talked about recruiting. One thing, I mean, I'm going to do at least cursory research. So, I mean, look, I found, at least one hype video of your highlights when, in the time when you're getting recruited. And I'm just wondering, it's like, it's something you just kind of need to do, and especially even more now maybe. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
much bigger in like basketball and football, but I wonder just about like just going through that and as a recruit, like literally maybe who helped you make it, how'd you pick the music? Talk to us, Anna. Talk about this process.
Okay. So, we our coaches at Shattuck, they told us to make a highlight video,
Yeah.
and we were fortunate enough to have, like, all of our games and recorded, so that was nice, and we had access to the film.
Right.
Uh, I made my own highlight video, and I chose the music based on my favorite players' highlight videos.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I would look at, like, Iniesta, he's my favorite player, and I would say,
Okay.
"Oh, this is the song."
Okay.
Now that I watch if I were to watch it again, I'd be like, "Well, this is an interesting song choice," but
They all are though, and there's
Mhm,
not. They all seem like you're like a little. It's like either a little too hype or it's a little too electronic. It's just what it's meant to be.
mhm.
I love that. That's great. Well, NES is not a bad favorite player. Yeah. Well, and I honestly thought that I was like, to get an idea, you would just watch other hype videos, yeah, and see what the best songs were. I mean, they're the one I
Mhm.
watched. I was down. I was down. I'm old and washed, but it was cool to me. But talk about. I use this picture to promote the show because it was just right at the top of your Insta, and it was great. But from Media Day with the cowboy hat, and look, the vaqueros. I guess it makes sense. I mean, you're obviously
Yeah.
diving into South Texas culture. Talk about that. Like, I mean, because I'm sure they're tossing it to all the players. If you have the Australian, New Zealand teammates, they must have thought that was hilarious too. Because I don't know if they normally wear vaquero hats.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Our mascot is literally a cowboy,
Yeah.
so it's perfect, and then, that was my teammate's hat,
Uh-huh.
so it's also like
Authentic.
it's, like, squished, and it's not the most flattering cowboy hat, but it just made the picture better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not the worst mascot. You could get into it. I mean, especially because you can literally dress up as it, you know, it would be. I have to imagine just being in South Texas. I mean, like you must be. You probably lean in a little more. I mean, I doubt you probably dress a little different than when you're in Woodbury or
Well,
Northfields
it's
or
definitely
where
hotter, so
Faribault.
I have a cowboy jacket, cowboy
Yeah,
hat.
you have to. Do you have boots? Do you have the boots?
Not yet. I don't
No.
not ready for that.
Yeah, you gotta find. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you could find some nice ones down there. Well, and speaking of that, I am curious because it's tempting. I mean, so it is something that living in Minnesota, you do not get. You know, you can find it, but it's tougher to find good quality Mexican food. And I'm just wondering, like, your favorite or least favorite parts of being in South Texas. The food has to be a part of it.
So today's Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
So after this, I was gonna go get tacos with my friends, and they're 50 cents each taco.
Oh,
It's amazing. They're the real deal.
yeah, yeah, and
Mhm.
authentic. Yeah, it's not Del Taco 50 cents. It's real.
Yeah.
That I mean, I assumed. And I want how much do you actually you are I mean, you're very close to the border. I'm curious,
Mhm.
just like, maybe in COVID it was worse, but I'm just wondering how much do you actually just cross over for the day or for fun?
Yeah. I've had well, one time we did team bonding and we went on the Rio Grande, and then one
Yeah,
side was Mexico and then the other side was America.
yeah,
That was cool. I
yeah,
haven't actually crossed over, but some of my teammates have, or like if they've broken their tooth, they've gone over to Mexico and gotten it
yeah,
fixed.
yeah.
And yeah,
That's
it
smart.
it's good during the daytime.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, and also, yeah. You'd be in by curfew anyway. We know you're
Mhm.
you're a
Oh,
veteran
yeah.
leader of the squad, of course. Yeah. Talk about also. I just wanted to ask you about academics quick because this is like I mean, you mentioned Shattuck helps
Mhm.
you find like passion in a little bit in education. Obviously, college enhances that because you kind of really get to pick what you want to focus on. You did not make a slouchy pick. You're not a slacking athlete. I couldn't imagine with a degree like is it electrical engineering?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no that's not easy as a student athlete. But I'm
Mhm.
curious, what do you hope to do with that? I know you're currently interning. It seems like somewhere kind of legit.
Yeah. I was interning at Haskell. It's like an engineering design company,
Mhm.
and ultimately, what I wanna do is I wanna work with renewable energy.
Cool.
I think that would be ideal to research maybe on solar cells on how to make them more degradable, or the
Hmm.
battery life not so bad for the environment, but
Hmm.
creating a battery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Shattuck definitely got me ready for it. I mean, the only reason I went into electrical engineering was I knew I wanted to do engineering or something with math. I
Hmm.
didn't know electrical engineering was supposed to be like one of the hardest.
Hmm.
I just knew it had the most math, which is my favorite, so I
Yeah.
wanted to do math. And then at Shattuck, I learned computer programming.
Yeah.
So I had a really cool computer science project that I did towards my senior year as my senior project.
Hmm.
So that motivated me to do electrical engineering with also a minor in computer science. So
Yeah. Highly applicable. That's got to make parents proud, right, Anna?
yeah.
I may or may not have been sent to an engineering camp as a high schooler to try and convince me, but here I am wearing a Hawaiian shirt. So let's go in. I want to do it's like I call it rapid fire ish. I just
Oh
want we're
boy.
gonna go through it can be as slow as you want, but it's more just kind of specific questions and a couple about soccer, but then a little bit of Rio Grande. I want to know if you remember the first soccer team you ever played on. What was it called?
Blackhawks. I don't
Do you think, or do you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I played futsal with the St. Paul Blackhawks.
Okay. How old were you? Do you think 5 or 6 or something?
Oh, no. I didn't start playing till I was, like, 8.
All right. Late bloomer. Yeah. What do you? We talked. You obviously the weather is something you don't miss from Minnesota, but
Mhm.
you have been in South Texas a lot in the last 4 or 5 years. I'm curious what you do miss about Minnesota when you're down there.
Um, the lakes,
Yeah.
the trees, nature.
Hmm. Yeah. Is it pretty? What's the climate like down there? I confess I've not been to the southern tip of Texas.
I don't it's like 90 degrees every day,
Yeah.
and we train at 11, so it's
Yeah.
super
Do
hot.
you?
But yeah, the heat is our friend.
Yeah, I guess that is tough, man. Yeah, yeah, toughness and resiliency from that. What's your
Mhm.
favorite memory from either high school or whether it be the high school age, so at Shattuck? What memories stand out most to you?
Ooh. Hmm. Let's see. My favorite memory probably when we tied against Sockers.
Okay.
Or I should say when we beat them. We didn't tie. We beat them. That was our first win ever in the Development Academy, so it was really exciting.
Is it Chicago soccer?
Yeah,
Yeah, very cool. I know that because there's like Michael Bradley from the men's national team played there. I think that's a huge club. Yeah, huge club.
yeah.
That's cool. What are your favorite away games? I mean, you played at Corpus Christi, so that's a lot of like Texas and kind of southern, west southern schools. But
Yeah.
now you have some other trips in the WAC. What are your favorite? It could be more than one, either because the stadium is cool or because like the town or the
Mhm.
actual trip is fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited for GCU because the
Okay.
field is unreal.
Yeah, they have a nice stadium, right? A soccer
Mhm.
stadium.
Yeah, and let's see, Seattle,
Yeah.
because that's really pretty.
Well, it's a cool trip, yeah, especially
Mhm.
when it's like you're going to Texas, you're going to Utah. Seattle's a big kind of a change
Yeah,
up.
and it's colder, which I know I said I don't like the cold, but I like it
A
a
little, yeah.
little chillier than this.
Yeah, you don't need 90 every day.
Mhm.
Yeah, not when training, I wouldn't think. Yeah. What is the favorite jersey you've ever played in? I just like jerseys. I saw like the teams you played on in college have kind of cool jerseys. I wonder if it could be a Shattuck jersey. I guess it could be a jersey you like traded for or got from a player. But I'm just wondering what the favorite jersey you ever had is.
It's my UTRGV white jersey.
Okay.
I like it a lot.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
has my number in the front, and I've never played with a jersey that has the number in the front.
I like that right in the middle, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Why do you wear 88, right?
Yeah.
Why do you wear 88? Just what is that from?
So my favorite number is 8, but 8 was already taken. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know why the only options were 19 or 88. I don't know
Uh-huh.
why they got a number 88, but I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, this is perfect. Double 8."
I like there's something cool about the non-traditional numbers, like
Mhm.
I know like there if when people wear like 71 or 99. Yeah, I don't know. Something different. Not only so many people need to wear 10. You don't need to wear
Yeah.
10 or 7. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, that's great. Now, this is the one of the more random. This I mentioned this that Texas Rio Grande Valley was formed from two University of Texas schools. There's so many words in these titles of these schools. It's really kind of funny. Do you know? Do you have any idea what the two schools it was formed from are?
University of Texas and Pan America
So
University?
what? Yeah, one is UT Pan American, which is a great name.
Mhm.
I thought you could keep that name, and the other one is UT at Brownsville/Texas Southmost College is what it was called
Oh.
prior to that.
Oh, that makes sense because we have a campus in Brownsville.
There you go, Rio
Do you
Grande
know where
Valley. But
SpaceX is?
oh, okay,
That's where Browns yeah.
are you looking to get a connect there with your electrical engineering?
That would be cool. Some of my classmates got internships there, so that would be really cool.
Not bad. Yeah, yeah. I would say shoot for it. What are you hoping to do after you graduate with with your electrical engineering degree? I mean, you said. I mean, are you hoping to go to more school or just try and get
Mhm.
into like you said renewable energy tech?
Yeah. I actually would wanna go back to Spain. I don't know if you know, but I moved to America when I was 8
Okay.
and try to play pro for a little bit. If
Okay. Awesome. That would be what.
Mhm.
And would you look to in the summer? When people trying to like if you didn't connect with something like playing on a summer league team or like a W League or WPSL team to kind of get that. We saw a couple people from Minnesota get that launch this summer doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would do that.
Hmm.
I practiced with a team in Spain before, so I would also be into trying to practice with them again and maybe get
Yeah.
into some games.
Do you want to say what team it is, or do you want to keep it on the
Well,
DL?
it's just where I'm from. It's Pozuelo. It's
Uh-huh.
like they're in the Division 2 for the Pro
Hmm.
League,
Hmm.
but
Well, there's probably no country with more exciting growth. I mean, England's doing great things in the women's club game, but La Liga is really exciting right now. The way Barcelona and all
Oh
those
yeah.
teams were. I mean, so to get to be in any part of that,
Mhm.
to be in the Spanish league, I would expect, you know, growing the game at the top level too means getting the pyramid going, and so that would be sounds like a really cool opportunity. Yeah.
Mhm.
Very cool. Well, we'll keep an eye on it, and I do want to say too, in terms of people wanting to catch up on Anna's games this year, one of the cool things is all the games on ESPN Plus that are happening this year. So I'm sure your family maybe is taking advantage of that to watch some.
Mhm.
But you have a game Friday at 5 p.m. against Southern Utah, and then Sunday on the 18th at 2 p.m. against Utah Tech. So you're doing that swing out west. Um, so you can catch those on ESPN Plus. That's exciting. Yeah. Thank you for joining, Anna.
Yeah, thank you so much for having
Awesome.
me.
Thanks, everybody.